Like I was saying, that the commodity prices and stuff have definitely gone up a little bit this month, and our newspaper prices have gone up. One additional thing that has happened to us, we have been notified by our buyer, and I've been reading about it in the papers and stuff and online that you see, that there will be an inspector on site with a buyer from if the Chinese is requiring that a buyer go to the MRF, or inspector go to the MRF and stay there for the material that they're gonna buy. So they will be doing inspections on every load as well as doing inspections on the bale. Where typically we got an inspection maybe out of, maybe once or twice a month. They will be doing every load that is inspected from this forward on, if it goes to China. So there'll be somebody there. We were notified this should be start happening on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. We got several loads going out the end of the week, and they'll be sitting there and inspecting them. So, and of course, you know, we need to try to make sure we get everything in place for them when they come, because they're going to be watching everything that goes on.
They're just gonna be spending the day with you that you're shipping, is that?
Yeah, the days that we're shipping, they used to come in and schedule and say, all right, we want to inspect this load that's coming out. And they'd have the trucking company there at 10 o'clock to pick up this specific load and this specific number, and they would inspect that load as it was being loaded. Now, if this buyer buys 25 loads, he will have to inspect 25 loads.
How are you gonna be aware of where the inspector is on our property and what he's doing and?
Well, he'll be in a designated area, and that'll be in the shipping area only. So that's the only place that he can be.
You gonna have to do anything any different than we're already doing?
There ain't nothing else we can do any different than we're already doing.
We're already
And
doing.
we're doing everything we can. We can't do anything any better. So, and you know, it's got to say something. If you were looking at the news last night, the NBC News, they said that I had one MRF on there that said they sold 120,000 tons of fiber to China last year, and has sold none this year. That they were taking it to the landfill. So you know, China's still buying ours currently. Don't know how much longer that'll last, but currently they're still buying. They're not paying much for it, but they're buying it.
The inspections have to be costing them, so they don't have as much.
Yeah, it's a requirement by China. There's a lot of articles out there about it. Last year in May, we did about 3,900 tons. This year we done 4,700 tons coming into the MRF. So we're definitely got all of those things going on right now. Wanted to bring y'all up to date on the solid waste management plan update. I put a sheet in your paper to tell you a little bit about where we're at. The technical advisory committee has met and finally completed. Our next step is to do the policy advisory county meeting. We'll be sending letters out this week to the mayors and the chairman of county council and the city's administrators, asking them to please attend on July 18th. If y'all see someone, a city mayor, please ask them to come. It's time for them to put their input into that, and that's going to be July the 18th, and we're setting it at 10 a.m. We will have HDR to come in and do a overall presentation of that thing, and we'd like for as many as the board members as well to attend. Then after that, we'll have a public hearing right before our next board meeting to get public input on it. We also plan to put the draft document on our website sometime the first of next week. We'll have it on there for everybody to be able to open it up and look at it. It's a rather large document, so it's a lot of reading in there. And then you can see the rest of the schedule. We'll ask for the board comments after public input. Then we'll ask the cities for a resolution in support of the plan. And then it'll go before the Board of Directors sometime in September for y'all to finally approve the plan and pass it on to Horry County Council for a resolution and approval. And that, we hoping to get that on the council's agenda sometime in October. And then in 3 years, we'll start over. Or about 2 years, we'll start over. And here we go again. So that's pretty much where that's at right now. Like I said, we'll have the draft plan on the website sometime the first of next week. So,
Any questions, Mr. Bezel, from the board? Thank you, sir.
thank you. Please put that date on your calendar, July 18th.
I will be out of town.
10 a.m. Right here.
Executive Director?
Thank you, ma'am. Page 61 is a copy of the letter that I've sent Charleston County talking about the MRF, the dates, and I think the bottom paragraph says that if we initiate the third intergovernmental agreement after January 31st, 2019, we'll approach a reduction in the tonnage that we will process and the development of a downtown schedule for major capital improvement. I wish you luck on your MRF project. I have not heard anything from the letter.
Well, we've done what we needed to do, was to inform them that we have no choice but to proceed with the improvements that we need.
So,
They're on the clock. They're aware of it.
they're aware of it, and
We're in year 3 of a 1-year contract that was not expected to go into the second year.
but we'll continue to plan for our improvements and put together a type maintenance schedule, and we'll continue with our MRF program and whatever China throws at us. The next point is page 62. It's time to re-up our lobbying agreement, and it's a total of $30,000 for the year. And it'd be my recommendation to develop the agreement again with Mr. Beam and Associates. As you know, we've still got a lot going on at the Capitol, and I
This is
think
important, and then that we maintain this arrangement. We need to have the observation, and the cost is reasonable considering the coverage we've been getting.
And I think it's a fair price of what we get and the protection we get, so it'd be my recommendation to proceed on.
I make a motion that we follow up on Mr. Knight's recommendation and that we contract with Beam and Associates for another year of lobbying observations for this board.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Well, I would like to say, having worked with Mr. Beam and his associates up there, that they were really on top of what they were doing. The container bill did not pass, and I think that was one of our major things this year, to make sure it did not. And for the new board members, they need to know that a lot of these containers that China is not taking, we're going to have to find something to do with it. And I would prefer us find something, or to work within a process to where we do not have to put those in our landfill. And I think in the coming year, one of those things is that we should be working with Mr. Beam and to have a House and a Senate member introduce a bill into legislation that would ask for the containers that are being made to be made where the landfills can recycle them, or whether they're compostable, because if they do not, if we had not saved 60-some days of landfill space, say that times 30 years, and that will tell you how many years that we've lost in this landfill. And that's a big difference, and it's a huge cost to this landfill and to the public. So that's one thing. I really am going to vote for this because I think he did an excellent job. And I appreciate all the board members that worked with their senators and House people so that this bill they had up there was defeated, because it was really a bad bill for our landfill, any public landfill, to have happen. But we are going to have to, and I mean start quickly, deciding what we are going to be able to do with the containers that China and the different other countries will not take from us any longer. If we don't work and get a bill passed looking at these manufactured containers and to make some changes and to work through some mandatory practices on a local and a state level, we're going to have some very costly problems at this landfill, and it's not going to live out the dates that we've projected, no matter what we do. And that's one thing that I want him to start on and to think about as soon as we start working with him again. So if there are not any more comments or suggestions, we will take a vote. All of those in favor of Mr. Ives' motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes.
That's my report.
Okay. We go to the committee reports. Nomination Committee, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The nomination committee did meet on June the 12th, and I will have a recommendation for a proposed slate of candidates to be considered at the annual meeting later this evening.
Thank you, sir. Finance and Administration Committee, Mr. Thompson.
Also myself. Thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance Administration Committee met on June the 13th to discuss the proposed recycling grant. As a reminder, the MSW incentive was eliminated because it was not increasing the recyclables going into the MRF. A portion of these funds were redirected into the C&D recycling facility, and the remainder would be used in a grant program to assist Horry County in meeting recycling goals. Staff has created a grant application similar to the one submitted to DHEC. Our committee voted to accept staff's recommendation to proceed with the solid waste reduction and recycling grant proposal, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That has been passed. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
And that concludes my report, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there
I'd like, wanted to make one additional comment. I spoke with Ms. Bidding subsequent to the meeting and asked her how many of our customers get paper bills. And I was surprised by how many of our customers are billed on paper. I thought there'd be more electronic transmission. Being that's the case, if we could please put a notice in our billing of these opportunities for grants so that our customers would be aware of them, maybe we get more participation in our grant program. So if we could do that, put a flyer together to include with our billing, that'd be one way of getting the word out on these opportunities. It's an excellent program that staff has put together. I'd like to commend staff for the program.
Thank you.
Well, what's the reluctance for the customers participating in electronic?
Well, it surprised me, and Jan said she's going to make an attempt, I'll let her speak, to offer it, because it's surprising how many don't make advantage of it.
And we have advertised and advertised, we've sent out flyers to people. Don't really know why, because it is, they take advantage of it. Not only do they get their statement emailed to them, they get every ticket that's run and processed each day emailed to them on a daily basis. So I'm not really sure why we haven't had as many take advantage of it. The only thing I could say is sometimes, especially with our cardboard customers, they have brokers that handle them, and they change hands from one broker to another. It could be every 3-6 months. So therefore, it's constantly changing hands with our cardboard customers. But our landfill customers are probably the ones that take more advantage of it than do our cardboard customers. And we're continuing to promote it. Every time we get a new customer, we try to sign them up to do the paperless option.
It isn't a case of technology fright?
I think so. I think they're just used to having that paper copy in their hand.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any old business?
Yes, ma'am, on page 77. Okay, yeah, that's new business.
New business. Okay. Is there any old business? Okay, we'll go to new business.
Just, use that to get your attention.
Now we can go back to page 77.
Page 77. I think we went through a very good presentation from our engineer on the possibilities of landfill expansions. As you know, it took us many years to get Piggyback 1 permitted. So we got Piggyback 1 permitted and Piggyback 2 permitted. And even in the management study that we went through, that some of the directions was to look at all of our property, look at all of our permits to see if there was any way that we could expand landfill capabilities on this site. And that theory holds true with everyone in the business. You've already got your gas wells here, your drainage here, a scale house, and everything is here, and you need to maximize the properties at your location before you even think about moving to a new site, if that was even feasible. And I don't much think it is in every county. And this holds true with our mission statement on what we're to do. So it's our recommendation for the Board of Directors authorize us to proceed on with a Piggyback 3 permitting process. We think we can have an application in by the end of the year, and maybe some answers back next year. And we're looking forward to moving on this project if, in fact, the board is in agreement.
I think that y'all have done a good job, the staff, working with our engineer. The paperwork that you gave us and what you figured out was really amazing, what you had to show to us that we could, as a board, look at and decide what we wanted to do, and I'm all for this. I think we need to do it. I think it's time to do it, and if there are any other comments from the board?
I'd just like to echo what you just said and commend the staff and our consultant on the work they did. It's reassuring that we can do it within the funds that we anticipated that we would be collecting over the next 20 to 30 years. This doesn't require any indebtedness. It doesn't require, at least as a project currently, using current dollars, it doesn't even anticipate increasing our fees. So that's just reassuring. And we're maximizing, Danny, as you said, the utilization of this site. It makes perfect sense to use every inch and every cubic inch that we can with the facilities that we have. And it would please me to sit on a board that was able to extend the life of this facility. It would please me immeasurably. And I think to be able to do it with as little impact to the environment as our consultant is suggesting is also extremely reassuring. There will be impacts. We will need to cross that bridge, pun intended. But I think it's something that we can do. And I think we can work with the community to make sure they understand that it's to everyone's better achievement of our mission to do this. So really and truly, I was amazed that we would not need to incur debt or to increase fees. This is quite an extraordinary increase of capacity that's projected here, and that we could do it here on site would be tremendous. Thank you.
And we tried to develop this memorandum to where we could basically use it as a press release. You just get you a copy of this and keep it close to your heart. And I mean, it's got our price estimates in it, equates down to per ton cost, and it's doable. And Vance did a great job on the presentation and putting it together, and it falls in line with our finances, and of course, Jan is in agreement. She worked with Vance on developing that whole list of things, so we're on it, and we'll proceed on.
Great job.
One thing you do need to keep looking at, when we got the $7 a ton, I think we had another so many dollars that we could go up when it is needed, and that's already been passed. So I do want to make sure, if we need to do that. One thing that people were a little unhappy with was that it took us 19 years to raise anything, and it got to the point that we did that. That's one reason the dollar was left in there that we could look at. They didn't want that done again all at one time. So when you're looking at the financials for this and what we're doing here, and to have enough in our closure and post-closure, you know, if we need to raise that every few years to make sure that that's capable, I want you to definitely keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and we will, and that will be part of the budget process that we will go through each year. And we won't have a problem recommending that if in fact it's due.
Okay. Roundtable discussion. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This being my last board meeting, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say what an honor and a pleasure it's been to serve for 8 years, and I have enjoyed my time immensely, and I've learned a lot. And one of the most important things I've learned is that there's not a more hardworking and dedicated and qualified staff and board with this organization anywhere. And I appreciate all the efforts from everybody over the years that, again, I came in knowing nothing. I've learned a lot, and I've enjoyed it, and I'm extremely impressed by the work that's been done out here. And I'm proud to say that, you know, for the last 8 years, I've been involved with the organization. So thank you all, everybody, for this opportunity to serve, and I wish you well going forward, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you. I've been extremely impressed with the work that's been done.
Well, I'd like to thank you for the work that you've done. You are an excellent board member. You're very hardworking as far as that's concerned. Okay, thank you. So I've served on a lot of boards, and I've served with a lot of board members. And I would say you are at the top of the list.
I appreciate that.
I really appreciate the work you've done and the kind of character person that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And going back, I think we need a motion to approve, and I'd like to make the motion to authorize staff to officially begin the permitting process for the piggyback expansion Phase 3, and to begin the planning of the permit process for Phase 4.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Okay, we have no executive session, so we will accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Okay.